Hello, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to talk about energy and how that impacts our goals. One of the things I've been really leaning into over the last year or so is aligning my goals with my energy, or at least accepting the progress that I am making or am not making on my goals because of the fact that my energy varies. And it happens to all of us. Our energy varies week by week, day by day, even hour by hour as we go throughout our day. And maybe you can relate, but I can make these great plans and it looks great down on paper. And then when I go to actually execute it, I can't always follow through on what I said I was going to do. And one of the big reasons is that it doesn't line up with my energy. So in this video, I'm gonna give you 3 ways that I still achieve my goals or at least make progress on my goals when my energy is low. Before we jump into it, I do want to acknowledge I am very aware that I am very, very lucky that I am not currently dealing with any physical illnesses that impact my physical energy on a regular basis. I understand that that is not the case for everybody. And so if that is something that you are struggling with, then some of these tips may not be able to be applicable for you. I am sharing the tips based on my life and how it helps me. And maybe you can tweak something that helps you. But I just wanted to start by saying that I am aware and very thankful that I do not have any physical illnesses that impact my energy levels that I'm currently struggling with. All right, number 1 is coffee. Just kidding. I thought it would be funny. I don't really consider myself a very funny person, but like that joke came to me when I was writing the outline for this video, and so I had to. All right, actual tip number 1 is having different options for different energy levels. And I know that this is something I've talked about before, and I know that this is not always going to be possible for every scenario, every goal, every action step. But if energy management is something that you feel like you struggle with, and especially there are certain goals that you're like, it's either all or nothing, I'm either going to do this thing or I'm not going to do this thing, depending on where my energy is at, consider coming up with some different options that would be based on your energy level. Now, this could be based on how long things are going to take you, right? If you're having a low energy day, maybe you only spend 5 minutes on it. If you're having an average energy day, maybe it's 15 minutes. And then if you're having a high energy day, maybe it's 30 minutes. One of the biggest things I see people like, it's not really I mean, I guess it could be considered a mistake, but something that we do, I myself included, when it comes to our goals, is that we plan our steps, especially daily ones, for our highest energy self. And then we hit that maybe once or twice a month if we're lucky, depending on your life and what else you have going on. And so when we plan for that highest energy self, we don't achieve it most of the time, we feel like we're failing. And so by having those different options, you're able to adjust your action steps based on your energy for the day. The time option really works well for goals like reading or something that you are in complete control of how long you're spending on that goal. You also could vary it based on the amount of time, but you're getting really specific about different things that take more or less time. The example I always give here is cleaning. At the end of the day and the evening before I go to bed, I would love to tidy up the whole apartment. That would be ideal. And that is my high energy self. I will be totally honest, given that I am a morning person and that highest energy me is around once or twice a month, tidying up the whole apartment before bed happens, again, once or twice a month. The average energy me, the average option is tidying up just my office, my workspace. That way, when I come in here in the morning, it's in good shape. That's what I do most days. Most days, I have the energy at the end of the day I'm able to tidy up the whole office. My low energy option is just the desk. As long as I get the desk cleared off, I feel really good coming into the next day. Are there days that I don't do any of those things? 100%, right? There's extra low energy option, which is absolutely nothing, and that's okay too. Some days that's going to be the case. But when I have these options and I think to myself, okay, it's the end of the day, how much energy do I have? What am I going to prioritize? And you know, it's not just that one thing, right? There's multiple things that I'm balancing my energy prioritization. I have those options that I'm able to pull from. So those were some examples based on time. You could also have energy options based on physical energy, right? Let's talk about movement for a second. Maybe instead of planning in advance, I'm going to do this type of movement on Monday and this type on Tuesday, so on and so forth. You pick the type of movement based on your energy level for that day. If you wake up and you're having a super low energy day, maybe you just do some stretching or some yoga. Maybe if you're at a mid-average energy day, you do some sort of strength training. Depending on who you are and like how your preference is, you can obviously tell what mine are. You might consider strength training the highest energy. I consider cardio the highest energy option. So that is what I would consider my high energy movement option based on physically how am I feeling that day. And then the last option could be to break it down by mental energy, right? Like there are definitely days that I don't really have the mental energy or capacity to do super difficult work. Those are days that I like catch up on emails, or I do kind of mindless types of tasks. And when I'm really excelling at this process, which by the way, I'm sharing some of the things I do, and sometimes I remember to do them and they work for me, and sometimes I don't. I would love to keep my to-do list sectioned by energy level, right? I would love to have, these are my low energy tasks, right? So these are things like emails, updating lists for things. For me, even like pulling analytics, to me, that's a low energy task. Then the middle energy is like project work. So something that I'm working on behind the scenes, again, execution and not necessarily thinking. And then high energy might be client work or creating something for you, something that I really want to make sure that I am putting all of my brain power in. And I can pick my action steps for that day based on where my energy is at. The key here is just to, if you can, define them in advance. That way, you're not trying to make that decision when you're already in that state of low or average energy. You already know you have the option right in front of you. All right, tip number 2, or the second thing that I do to help manage my energy levels but still make progress on my goals, is leaving white space in my schedule. I used to be the kind of person that filled up every hour of every day, of every week, of every month. And I thought that was going to be sustainable. And then the world shut down. And I realized how beneficial it is for me to have rest and white space in my schedule. So what do I mean by that? I don't fill up the entire day anymore. I leave a certain amount of white space, and the amount of white space you're gonna need, and white space is just like a phrase I feel like that a lot of planner people use to say like that you're leaving space in your calendar. All it means is that you're leaving some amount of time with nothing scheduled in that time slot. No work commitments, no personal commitments, no whatever. And once again, I understand that from my perspective as somebody who owns their own business and does not have children, that my ability to leave white space in my calendar is probably gonna be much higher than somebody who isn't in one of those situations. I completely understand that. But I will tell you that for all of us, leaving some level of white space, even if it's 15 minutes, it's going to make a difference in the long run, because then on your low energy days, on your really low energy days, you just take it, right? And you do what you need to do to fill up your personal cup, and you're able to rest. If you fill up every hour of every day, and you have a low energy day, one of two things is gonna happen. You're either gonna power through all those things and hit a level of burnout that's gonna be harder to come back from, or you're not gonna do all those things because you have low energy, and then you're gonna feel like a failure. Whereas when I leave, I feel like that's like the underlying theme, right? Is like we're trying to go with our energy and not feel like we're failing. So by leaving that white space, I can decide in that moment, how do I wanna spend this white space? Do I wanna spend it in a low energy, like refueling activity? For me, that's usually taking a bath, right? Like I love to take a bath and relax in the evenings. If I'm on a low energy day, I take that white space and I take a bath. Obviously, if I'm at a high energy day, I'm gonna take that white space, I'm gonna fill it with something from one of my million running to-do lists. I can always find a way to fill that space. But again, high energy me happens like once or twice a month. And most days I'm somewhere in the middle. And so I will do something in the middle. Last night, it was folding laundry. Like I had a little bit of energy, something I could give a little bit, but it wasn't some massive like needle moving personal or professional project, right? It was just folding the laundry on the couch, which sometimes for me is a needle moving project in and of itself, given that the couch was covered with laundry. But that is for me like an average level way to fill my white space. And I didn't fill it all with the laundry, right? I had like an hour-ish of white space before it was time to go to bed. I spent about 30 minutes of it folding laundry and 30 minutes of it watching TV and playing a game on my phone. So it really does vary. But by leaving that white space, I can decide each day how I'm gonna fill it. What it means though is that I really have to prioritize and decide what is actually going to get space on my calendar so that I can still leave some space at the end of the day. But it allows me mentally to know that what is most important is going to get done, because I gave that a time slot on my calendar, and then I also still have empty space at the end of the day. That way, if it does take longer than I think it will, I do have a little bit of buffer. However, I will say the last thing that I do that really helps with this is I try to overestimate how long things are going to take. We are very bad at estimating how long things are going to take, myself included. And some tasks you're probably better at than others because you've been doing them longer, or it's something that you do over and over again. But there are definitely some tasks that I am not good at estimating. So whatever the first number that pops into my head, I will try to double it. because I know that I'm probably underestimating. So I'm gonna go ahead and overestimate and like overcorrect almost. That way I end up with more white space that I can decide what to do with based on my energy levels versus always feeling behind. All right, and the last tip is really more of a mindset that I've had to accept in order to really lean into aligning my energy with my goals. And that is realizing that progress is going to look different every day, therefore every week, therefore every month over the course of a year. I know I've shared this example before, but just in case you haven't heard it, and I am not a runner by any means. And so I really want to flesh out this example, but it's also something that I don't have any personal experience with, but I can't find like something that I know that's a good comparison. Let's say you're running a marathon. It may be you, it's definitely not going to be me. 26.2 miles, that's a lot of miles. And let's say this marathon runner averages a 10-minute mile over the course of the whole marathon. It does not mean that they ran a 10-minute mile every mile for 26 miles. It means that some of their miles they ran faster and they made more progress than 10-minute miles, and some miles they ran slower and they made less progress than a 10-minute mile. But over the course of the entire marathon, their average was a 10-minute mile. The same is true for your goals. Your progress on your goals is going to look different all the time. You are not going to average the same pace of progress over every day, every week, every month. It's going to look different because life looks different. You have different commitments. You have all these different factors that are impacting your energy. Sometimes it's the weather and the season. Sometimes it's your commitments. Sometimes it's your job. There are so many things that are going to impact your progress levels. But accepting that those progress levels are going to look different is something that is key to being open to adjusting your progress based on your energy. I know that when I have a low energy day, it means my progress that day is going to be slower. I may only read 1 page of my book instead of 10, or I may not read it at all. I may only work out for 10 minutes instead of 30. But I know that small progress is still progress, and there will be days that my progress is higher, and accepting that it's gonna look different every day has really made a difference for me. And this is a topic we're gonna dig into even more and get specific about your life at our January workshop. If you haven't heard me talk about this, I am hosting a workshop in January all about motivation. Well, it is, Laken, by the time you're seeing this video, it is January. It is later this month on January 21st at 1 p.m. Eastern. All of the in-person tickets are sold out, but you still can snag a virtual ticket. It will be recorded if you're not able to join live. The perk of joining live is that you're able to ask live questions in the moment. But I'm so excited to hang out in January and talk all about motivation and carrying that motivation throughout the rest of the year. So the ticket link is down below if you want to join us. And that is going to be it for this video. Hopefully you found it helpful as you are kickstarting your 2023 goals. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you're new here, please click that subscribe button. I upload new videos every week focused on helping you achieve your goals. Thank you so much for watching. Down by mental, how long I actually think they're going,